Veterans Day is a day we set aside each year to honor and say thank you to those who have served our country. So many members of our own Falmouth community have dedicated their lives protecting our freedom, so we couldn't think of a better place to have episode number 2 of This is Falmouth than the American Legion Post 164. I'm Gina Lamontagne, and today I have the privilege of being here at Post 164 and speaking with Ralph Bonville, a longtime member of our Falmouth community, veteran, and member here at the American Legion. So today we're here with Ralph Bonville, Legion member, veteran, and longtime Falmouth resident. Ralph, thanks for having us today. We're so excited to hear from you. So can you tell us a little bit more about the Legion Post here in Falmouth and its history?
The Legion Post started in 1946, right after the war ended. I wasn't here at the time. I was over in Japan, but I came back and I found out there was a Legion Post, so I joined it. And basically, I joined the American Legion because I felt that I owed them some work, a payback. I owed them a payback for stuff they had done for my father back in 1921 or 22.
How many members do you have today currently?
About 55.
And what types of things are they doing in the community or on a regular basis?
Well, it started off, one of the big things, the first big thing was on Memorial Day. Back in 1948, we formed a rifle squad to attend the burials, parades, and so forth. So we had 8 members who got full uniforms, then we had 4 members that had uniforms for the color guard, and that made a full outfit of 12. They prospered for probably 10 years. Memorial Days, we always had a parade, and we still do. We have, right now, we visit retirement homes to let the veterans there know that they're not forgotten.
I'd love to hear a little bit more about your own service and experience in the service. So what war did you serve in?
World War
II. And were you drafted or did you enlist?
No, I was drafted. They were taking nothing but the best. I went in to see what I could do about getting in the Army. The sergeant looked up at me. He says, "You might as well go right back out." And I said, "Why?" He says, "We can't take you." I said, "Why not?" He says, "You're wearing glasses." That's how fussy they were. You had to be perfect. So I said, "All right, you're going to have a war." I just got out of high school. We had a teacher who lived here in Falmouth, American history, and he had been studying communism, and he says, "We're going to have a war, and the communists are going to take over most of Europe." He ended up right. So I told the guy, I said, "You're going to have a war in 3 or 4 years, and you're going to have to come after me. I'm not coming." So anyway, I graduated from Deering and moved back to Presque Isle, and long enough to get married. And before the war started, the National Guard went. My wife says, you want to go with the other fellows?" And I said, "No, they had their chance." And I was stubborn enough. I didn't go. I came down here and went to work in the shipyard. And then they drafted me.
How was it coming home and readjusting back into life here?
Well, there wasn't anything to do. No work, like everybody else. There was too many people for the jobs there were. And I had been working with my father in Presque Isle. I'd work with him in the mornings, and then I'd go to Western Union, work in the afternoon. He's a house painter and paper hanger. I didn't know about this, but while I was over in Japan, he decided to sell the house up there and come down here. So he did. And when I first heard about it, I was ready to come home, and they said, "Oh, my sister wrote a letter and said, 'Dad's selling the house, he's going to move to Portland.'" So when we moved there, we thought where we are, it said on the thing, 1079 Ocean Avenue. And that was my mailing route. Come find out, we lived in Falmouth. So the first house. So anyway, we got here, and then in 46, and then finally in 47, we got set up and went into business. And I worked with him until he died in 1950. And then I was just too stubborn to do anything else. I stayed because he had worried about during the Depression, you know, what am I going to do to bring kids up? So he was teaching me a trade.
So you mentioned to us that you didn't really have any part of choosing Falmouth, but what has your experience been like living here in Falmouth?
When I moved here, I thought I was way the hell out in the country. We didn't know. I didn't know where Falmouth was. All I knew was Munjoy Hill, where I'd lived during the war. And when they said 1079 Ocean Avenue, well, we came out in a car, and I didn't have a car either for 2 more years. But my wife at that time was living in Red Bank, and we found out that we were going to be living out here. So, see, I get home July, it was probably the last of August when they moved down here, and I moved over from Red Bank. But to me, it was good. It was country. I liked the country. I didn't like the city. I lived in it there for 4 years. But I liked it.
Well, I hear you have a very special birthday coming up this year, 100 years old. So I'm sure you've seen a ton of things over your lifetime, changes, different things. Would you have one piece of advice that you would give to these younger and future generations that you'd want to leave with us?
When it comes to school, learn history and geography. They don't teach it anymore. Go to the library and learn it.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all that with us and for your service and what you continue to do here through the Legion and for the community. Really is a great thing.